It's not at all unusual for people to experience a level of stress when going through changes in life. We've all heard sermons, we've all read articles about life's major stressors: getting married or separation, divorce, starting a new job, financial stress, death of a close family member, retirement or losing a job. I had initially thought we'd focus on how to handle stress as we go through the changes that we are facing in the midst of this pandemic. But then something else caught my attention. Each week, I take time to go onto my wellness website and participate in a challenge which asks me to read about a topic which I get to choose so that I can learn how to better take care of myself. It might be about what's good to eat, good nutrition, exercise, financial fitness, preventing heart disease. Early on in this pandemic, I was drawn to this title or lesson, and it's called Strengthening Your Resilience. And under the caption, this is what it read: you will learn a variety of skills to help increase your resilience, such as effective problem-solving skills, stress-busting techniques, building up your confidence, and letting go of the idea of perfection. There was something about that word resilience that grabbed my attention, and so I've been thinking about resilience as it relates to how one deals with stress. And there's no doubt in my mind during this time we are going through, everybody is having an opportunity to work on their resilience. Amen? Today's scripture passages give us a great clue as to how one's spiritual life helps build resiliency. Jesus was pressed by people very often. Large crowds gathered around him and then followed him, pursued him, requested him to heal their loved ones or their friends or often themselves. Hebrews 12, 1 through 3 also shows us just how resilient Jesus was. Notice that Paul uses phrases such as endured the cross, scorned its shame, endured opposition from sinful men. These all say to us Jesus was often under great stress and pressure and saw all kinds of illness and death. And even in the Garden of Gethsemane, it says his sweat was like drops of blood. What resilience! Jesus ran the race God set out before him. And even with all that would entangle him or entangle us, we too are called to run our race, the race marked out for us with endurance and perseverance and resilience, all the while keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus. And from my experience, and I think the experience of many others, that is honestly the only way we can run our race, stay steady in the race, keep the faith, and then finish our race well. Resiliency for any of us at any level will be strengthened as we keep our eyes focused on Jesus and our hearts in love with God. This is what will help us not grow weary and not lose heart. In all honesty, I've experienced a few moments of losing heart and growing weary over these last 9 weeks, and have felt this way many times over 57 years of life, and especially when those top stressors in life show up, and they do so often unexpectedly. And how many people in the Bible, or even that you know in your everyday life, are there that seem to be able to overcome adversity? In the Bible, there are people like Abraham, Joseph, Esther, David, Mary, Paul. You can probably name a few more, I'm sure. It's interesting that one of our church members sent me an email early Wednesday morning just before I sat down to put this message together. The email was about her family member who just received his D-Min degree, and his dissertation is about spirituality in the Monroe Fire Department, the impact of spirituality on a firefighter's, wait for it, resiliency. Have you ever realized God is speaking to you pretty loudly? And I felt that Wednesday morning. What a great affirmation about our need to cultivate resilience and its importance in our lives. And so we don't get this backwards. It's really more about how we cultivate our spiritual lives, which helps us become resilient so that we are able to better handle life's major stressors when they do come our way. Psychologists have discovered one spiritual outlook makes us as humans more resilient to trauma. Research shows that spirituality provides us with key elements such as a strong social support group, the opportunity to infer meaning in things, and to focus on empathy, which all help people recover from traumatic life events, both personally and within groups, and even on a global scale. It's how we cope with tsunamis and 9/11 and ravaging floods and fires and tornadoes and earthquakes, to also include our own personal storms and tragedies that we are going to face, and when and where pandemics hit so close to home. I relate also well with David Mitchenbaum, who is co-founder of the Cognitive School of Behavior Therapy at the University of Waterloo, who says this: spirituality is an attempt to seek meaning, purpose, and a direction of life in relation to a higher power, universal spirit, or God. Spirituality reflects a search for the sacred, and then an ability to help others is itself a sign of recovery from trauma. And spirituality's focus on forgiveness and empathy can help trauma victims reach this stage. Wow, how this resonates with my soul and my experience. Even in difficult times, empathy finds benefits such as we lost everything we possess, but we came out alive. Now, for us as Christians, our spirituality is built around, if you will, founded and grounded in Jesus Christ. We see words and phrases like perseverance, endurance, hope, be strong, take courage, be not afraid, as words that encourage us towards a growing faith in Christ, service to others, care for others, and resiliency. Spiritual resiliency is defined as the ability to sustain an individual's sense of self and purpose through a set of beliefs, principles, and values. What gives us a sense of resilience here at Aldersgate? Well, our missional focus found is our commitment to live courageously and share God's unconditional love with everyone, make disciples, and serve others. In other words, if everything else around us falls apart, this is what holds us together. It is our purpose. It gives us meaning. It's who we are. And it creates resilience as a church family that whatever happens, we are committed to God, each other, and as we fix our eyes on Jesus, we are going to find a way through because we know to trust in God with all our hearts. We won't lean on our own understanding, and in all our ways we'll acknowledge God who will make our path straight. And to be honest with you, that kind of fires me up even when challenges and tough situations come along. Our 5 value words, can you recall those? Joyous, risk-taking, welcoming, generous, and faithful. And because of God's help and our values, we are going to get through these days, church family and friends. We'll keep fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith. And to be honest, I think Jesus has helped me more with resilience than anything else. Seeing how Jesus went off to pray, how he dealt with difficult situations and people. Though Joseph has also taught me a lot about forgiveness and the way in which he forgave his brothers. Moses has taught me a lot about leadership. And Esther, how to have courage and when to step up. And even Mary saying to the angel, I am the Lord's servant. These faithful people all modeled resilience. As I read and studied along, here are some things I found to help grow resilience in our own lives. You're already familiar with resilience if you know someone that no matter what life throws at them, always comes out of that situation as a stronger, better person. And I know you know the phrase, and we know the opposite of this can be true, right? We either grow to be better or we grow to be bitter. I've watched people deal with trauma and press into God, and I've witnessed the exact opposite and people walk away from God. It's heartbreaking, but the pain is real and does not mean God is not present and working in our lives. It means we're all going to handle things differently, and God never gives up on anyone, and neither should we, and especially when it relates to their relationship with God. Thank goodness no one is out of God's reach. People who show signs of resiliency are able to handle setbacks, manage stress, overcome adversity, adapt to change, and they tend to have a never give up mentality. It's an inner strength that helps you deal with life while staying balanced and centered. I think here's the key. People who are resilient see life's challenges as opportunities to grow rather than threats to their well-being. Though I do believe we have to work through that as well. There may be some who are resilient by nature. Like a rubber band, they're stretched and they just seem to pop back into place. Though, if you study it long enough, you realize no rubber band that is stretched ever returns to exactly the same place. Truth is, most of us have to work at being resilient, and we need a lot of God's help along the way. Let me share with you a few characteristics of a resilient person. I'd like to see if you have any of these. You see for yourself, and maybe there's one that you might work on. People who are resilient learn to adapt positively to challenges. People who learn to be resilient can accept change. You learn or have learned effective stress management skills. You have emotional awareness or intelligence. Now we call that EQ. You've grown in your problem-solving skills. You understand you can't control everyone and everything, and maybe that's just a huge step towards moving towards resiliency. You have solid, healthy social support and connection with others, and that looks like small groups or Sunday school or other groups that you might be part of, whether it's church or work or just in your community. You have a positive attitude and outlook. You are self-aware. In other words, you recognize pretty quickly how you're feeling and how you're doing. You found a sense of meaning and purpose in life. You never give up on your goals, and you practice self-care and take action to maintain a healthy body. Can I really be honest? I'm sure being an only child, having divorced parents, spending a lot of time at home alone, and yet involved in so many activities at church and in school, and a grandmother as I got to be an older teen, maybe get up and go to church, helped form who I am today. That's for better or for worse. There are some of these life experiences that forced me towards resiliency, or I may have never made it to where life has brought me today. Think of your own life. Think of your own race of faith and what you focused on or who you focused on. And yet there are so many of these characteristics that I know I did not possess that I know have been cultivated over time. Still, some days, those feelings of weariness or being tired and losing heart, they still want to creep in. I bet that's true for many of us. As they do, my increased self-awareness kicks in, thank goodness, and I know to turn to God in prayer. I read my Bible, I read my devotional, I write down some thoughts, I talk and listen to small group members and mentors and coaches and colleagues, and sometimes I just need to go out and take a walk. Some voices want to put you down to raise themselves up. What voice or voices will I listen to? What thoughts will rule my mind? Will I look for positive or negative ways to fill my life, meaning or meaningless activities? I've learned serving others gives meaning. And when you think of firefighters and healthcare providers and all these people who are out here on the front lines right now, do you know one thing that helps them be resilient? Knowing that people are praying for them, people who bring food by to say thank you. And I think when we do these things, that gives others hope and encourages them not to give up, even though they might grow tired and weary. And ironically, it serves to strengthen our own resiliency and empathy, giving purpose and meaning to our own lives. A little love and a little support, these go a long way, don't they? After Kelsey, our 17-year-old daughter, was killed in a car accident, life crashed all around us. I'm not sure how any of us actually survived that time. I'd say I wasn't very resilient at all at that point. But God was with us, though I had tons of questions. People loved us, cared for us, walked with us, and ran alongside us on our race. I happened to put on a lot of weight, floundering in a lot of areas, and remember one day my 2 associate pastors coming into the office expressing concern, and I knew then that something had to change. Or like that little train that said, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. No, I couldn't. I was never going to make it to the top of that mountain. The steam had all but gone. But they prayed with me right there. And honestly, they pushed me a little. Pastor Norma Jean and Jesse, thank you. I found if you care for a person, I mean really care, you'll sometimes do the hard thing and be lovingly honest with them. So I started taking better care of myself. And here are some things that I want to offer you. Not that I necessarily did all these things, but I thought about all these things and did many of them that can help you strengthen your own resiliency. Trust me, it's going to require effort. You're going to have to ask the Lord for strength and courage and not to be afraid. First off, you have to prioritize your own self-care. It's really okay to start to learn to love yourself because God does. Second, learn to manage stress. There's plenty of resources to help with that. I'm not going into all those details, but there are lots of resources. But learn to manage stress. Third, maintain social support. That is so important, friends. Small groups are invaluable, even if they are by Zoom for a season. Social connections, care, love, support, exhortation from those I knew cared was invaluable and increased my ability to be resilient. Just know that God created us for community. And I also found that having a counselor early on in that process was invaluable. And even today, I have a coach that I talk to every month. Fourth, have some confidence in yourself. Know the race you run, you never run alone, and it's your race. Fix your eyes on Jesus and have confidence in yourself, and confidence knowing that Jesus is with you. Fifth, know your strengths and maintain a healthy, positive self-image. Remember whose image you are created in. Bill Perry said it best in his devotional this week. Remember who you are. He reminded each of us, we are children of God. I am a child of God. You are a child of God. You can say that with me. I am a child of God. Go ahead. I am a child of God. Yes, you are. And yes, I am. Sixth, increase your optimism. I mean, I'm not talking about being Pollyanna. Being positive in how you think can help you address hardship with a sensible outlook. And that looks a lot like God makes all things work together for good. And it's not that all things turn out good, but if we pay attention and notice and stay open, God will bring about good. Seventh, and we've been talking about this almost this whole sermon series, practice gratitude. Appreciate what you do have, who you have in your life. Appreciate the people around you. And lastly for today, accept change, because Pastor Emily's right. We're all dealing with some losses and things are changing. Things may not go back to, some things may go back to normal, but never the way they were. We can't control change, only how we respond to it. Becoming resilient for many of us takes time and practice. You've heard many ways you can begin or continue building resiliency in your own life. If you feel stuck, name that too. And just know there are many people available to walk with you, and with guidance, you can improve your own resiliency and your own well-being as you learn to persevere, run your race of life, and live out your faith well. Let's just remember, most importantly, to keep fixing our eyes on Jesus.